Yo, welcome, Browns fans, to another episode of Brown and Orange Weekly. I'm your co host, Clarence Wilson. And with me, I should say as always now at this point, with me as always is my guy, James Elfritz. James. And maybe Dean will join us. We'll see. At the bottom, I got maybe Dean. We'll see what happens. Um, James, how you doing, brother?
Doing okay. Surviving after a tough 2-game West Coast trip with the Browns, but was able to be able to show my passion and love for football, and that was the high school level over the weekend. Did some coverage for Believe Land Media down at Canton, down at Tom Benson Stadium. Thursday night, got to cover the amazing Akron-Hoban Massillon Division II championship. Almost 15,000 people there for a state title game was fantastic.
Wow.
Watching Massillon win their first state title since 1970 and their first one on the field in the playoff format. I worked in Massillon. I live in Massillon, but in Jackson Township. My kids go to the Jackson High School, the Polar Bears. So we're not Tigers, but I worked in youth programs in Massillon for 10 years. Had many of our young men that were in the programs that went to Massillon. A few of them played football there. So happy for the community there. Happy for the fans, parents, alumni, all that. It was an amazing experience Thursday night, and then piggyback Friday night with a great Springfield came up and played St. Ed's in the Division I championship. An amazing game too. St. Ed's went up 14-0. One of the guys on the sideline that were credentialed back there that weren't media were like, "Oh, looks like we're going to get out of here early tonight." He couldn't have been more wrong. Springfield battled back, tied the game. Could have taken the lead going into halftime. Fell short right at the goal line, and couldn't recover in the second half once the Eds kicked the field goal and then a late touchdown. But great experience down there. All you football fans that are listening, I can't tell you how much a joy it was to be a part of those crowds, those fan bases, watching those student athletes play their asses off for everything that they've worked all season for to win a state championship. So that was a special time.
Wow. Yeah, well, I went to high school in Springfield. So that school, as we've discussed several times, that school is a combination of two separate schools. The two schools were separate when I was going to high school there, and I always said if those two schools ever combined, they would be a contender for states every single year, and it's kind of turning out to be that way. Seems like they're always there. So shout out to everybody who participated this weekend in the Ohio High School playoffs. But let's get to some Browns.
Well, I was trying to avoid that, considering what happened on Sunday, but that's what we're here for.
Yes, Browns go out to LA, lose 36-19 to the LA Rams. Joe Flacco got his first start in a brown and orange uniform. It was still weird looking at him the entire time. Like the things just didn't seem right. Like that dude's supposed to be wearing black or purple and black, and him and the old brown and orange seemed it was weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it definitely looked weird. It was like a Madden trade, that you're
Yeah.
just messing around with, playing
Yeah.
video games, but it was reality. And I don't know about you, but I think the reality of it was that we saw, even though he's a seasoned veteran quarterback at the very back end of his career, we still saw what he had, and he still got an arm there. He still has a touch, and he still played well. Finished with a quarterback rating of 80, went 23 for 44 for 254, 2 touchdowns. We'll get into the interception there in the second half. But I tell you what, Clarence, anybody that knows football saw what we saw, and we know what bad quarterback play looks like. but we
Mhm.
also, from watching other franchises, know what good quarterback play is. And those pass attempts and his release and getting the ball out on time. What do you think? I mean, I was pleasantly, I guess I don't want to say surprised. I'm definitely not shocked, but maybe pleasantly surprised how well he looked out there in the short amount of time he's been with the team.
Same, absolutely the same. I've been talking about it for the last, week or so, couple of weeks that, I was concerned with them having to basically install a brand new offense. Well, not a brand new offense, but a lot of the scramble plays and things of that nature were going to be taken out of the equation because he's not the swiftest dude out there. And if you notice, there was zero quarterback runs this week, so they definitely took that out of play. Um, but I was surprised. He looked really well. Or sorry, he looked really good. Uh, I shouldn't say really good. He looked solid for a guy who, like you said, coming in short amount of time, getting the start. Um, Still shocked that we threw the ball 44 flipping times. There is some justification for it, but I just still thought with him coming in and being, so new to this team and this offense that they might try and evolve the run game more. But that wasn't the case. He had 21 passes in the first half and finished with 44. Obviously a few of those were uh, when we were down, but um, it seemed like the Browns didn't give a damn. They came out and threw the ball on first down so many times.
Well, it's not the Browns. Remember who calls the plays.
That's right, Kevin
Yeah,
Stefanski.
that's Stefanski. But you
Yeah,
can't. Can you blame him though, Clarence? When you saw what Flacco was doing out there, I mean, the first drive was, and thank God on that touchdown pass to Ford in the left flat area. Thankfully, he didn't overthrow him on that. He put a
yeah,
nice touch on it. You go back and watch it though. You're looking at Ford's like, man, just stay on the feet.
right.
Just
He
keep.
was wide
Thankfully, he
open.
got thankfully he got in the end zone. And but I mean that's how it is. You script your first drive, and
Hmm.
man, that thing looked like money. I mean, it looked beautiful. I mean, everybody on Twitter just excited, like, yeah, Joe Flacco, okay, okay, you
He
know.
looked great. He looked
And,
good. Like I don't know. I think the lack of wide receivers hurt them. Mari went down. We'll talk about that. But him and Moore obviously have some kind of New York connection going on because he had his best game of the season, Elijah Moore, with his what did he get? 4 for 83.
yep.
Um, but yeah, I will say I was pleasantly surprised with the way that he played. Um, Again, the 44 passes, I was looking for more balance, but again, like you said, he looked really solid out there. So, um, but I do want to talk about the balance. While he looked solid, the rushing attempts just I I feel like Stefanski is adverse to running the ball, no matter who the hell is out there throwing it. Um, Somehow Kareem Hunt led all running backs with carries with 12, which was a little odd to me. I thought Ford was kind of like option number one. Kareem was, not necessarily a specialty back, but we're going to use him in, short yardage situations or, goal line situations. Um, but yeah, Kareem Hunt 12 carries, 48 yards. Ford 9 for 19. Uh, and then my guy, Pierre Strong, he only had 2 carries in the second half, popped for 20. One was like a 7 yard carry, the other one was a 13, but he only got two. Um, Even though Flacco looked solid, did you expect and would you have liked to have seen a little more emphasis placed on the run game? Because he had 44 tosses, and the Browns ended up with 23 runs.
I mean, I think honestly, I always want to see balance. I always want to see that our run game is mixed in there. quite a bit. But compared to the Denver game, where when I look back and it looked like your average per carry was higher than it was here in LA. We just weren't getting it. I mean, 9 attempts for 19 for Ford, under 3 yards average. Even Kareem Hunt, when he got his 12 carries, still only at a 4-yard average, which is not that's not awful. Pierre Strong only getting those 2 carries. I know. Trust me, I was thinking about you when he was out there, and especially that second run when it looked like he got that burst. He got tripped up a little bit. He was kind of disappointed in himself. He was hoping he could find the end zone finally. And, I think we both see that burst in him. But in reality, he's just going to be that 8th guy off the bench in the NBA that's going to get, 6 minutes a game and, might be 2 for 2, a couple of rebounds, a steal maybe. His stats right now, he's stuck behind 2 guys that have played pretty well for the season.
Yeah.
But it's like we got that itch, like we want to see him play the same way. I felt like it's like once we got Flacco in here, I'm like, man, I just need to see him out there. What can he do? And he proved to us that he needs to be out there. But as far as the running game goes, we're still a committee. I don't see that changing throughout the year unless there's heaven forbid another injury. But yeah, Pierre Strong definitely looks his last name. We would like to see him get more carries, and I think the main thing is Clarence is because he's old school and wears a towel. He still got that towel. When I see the towel out there, I remember having a towel. I loved having a towel, especially even as a wide receiver. I played tight end, but seeing the towel out there. But yeah, I want to see more Pierre Strong too. I'm thrilled that we had 9 receivers catch the ball. I mean, that's almost like Joe Flacco showing off. Yeah, I can throw to anybody. How about the throws on the numbers?
Yeah.
I mean, even Harrison Bryant, 5 catches, 49 yards with his touchdown. It's nice to see, the tight end 2 spot coming on, especially as Njoku. I believe he had at least another drop Sunday. I'm sure you saw the stat watching the game. We lead the league in drops.
Rams were second, I think.
Yeah, and so what do you think about that? Do you think that's because of all the quarterbacks, like we talked about recently, DTR, the velocity on his ball, the guy's struggling with that, and now Joe, who Amari Cooper said last week in the press conference, it's like poetry in motion out there when he's throwing the ball. Because he just throws a very pretty ball, he said. And he sure does. I mean, we saw it. So what do you think about that? Do you see that going forward the rest of the season as Joe being our guy?
Yeah, I don't see any particular reason as to why they need to go back to DTR at this point. Joe Flacco is, I think, and let me preface this first. If anybody wants to come at me, I'm not hating on DTR. I think DTR is going to be fine. But right now, Joe Flacco looks like a professional quarterback. And he went out there, made the throws, did what he was supposed to do. The only reason I would think that we would go back to DTR at this point would be if we are deciding to punt on this. I shouldn't say punt because DTR can play. But if we decided that we're going to use the rest of this season as some kind of exhibition or something like that to see what DTR really is over these last few games, see how good he is. That's the only reason I would think that there would be any kind of need to go back to DTR. Because right now you're in a playoff race. We are the 7th seed right now as of December 5th, 2023. So I'd say stick with Flacco. I don't see any reason to move back at this point. And like I said, unless they're doing something like that. And if the Browns really are trying to see what DTR has with a 7-5 record, it's not on the level of throwing Johnny Manziel out there when you're 7-4 and you got Hoyer. But if they're just trying to see what he is, can't do that right now. Go with the professional quarterback, the guy who has the experiences and the reps and has been in many a game in a heated situation, stick with Flacco. Are you kind of on the same wavelength?
100%. There is. I mean, I'm shocked that anybody. And then what? Stefanski came out today, and they weren't going to commit
Yeah, wouldn't
to
name a
Joe
quarterback.
being the starter. Who the hell are you fooling? Like, I don't even know what that play is because there ain't nobody buying that. That's a load of shit. I think everybody knows that. Because I mean, TTR, as much as we enjoyed him in preseason, we enjoyed, him coming in there and showing a lot of guts, has a lot of zip on the ball. Great kid, love his interviews, right? But he's got so much to learn, man. He's so raw. This is where I wish we had. I look back at the Packers with Mike Holmgren when you had who was all the quarterbacks up there? You had Favre.
And
You
Favre,
had who was the guy that wanted to sign that crazy deal with the Seahawks?
I know
Matt.
exactly what you're talking
Oh my
about.
gosh, but they had they had like 3 or 4 quarterbacks. Like I wish we
Hmm.
could go back to that. But then again, when you look around the NFL, even with 2 and then 1 on the practice squad, and we're going to get into this more with Jacksonville, but Trevor Lawrence is looking like he's going to be out this Sunday, and their backup is C.J. Beathard. So, Clarence, this is what I'm going to ask you. C.J. Beathard's their backup. Maybe he's content in that role, and I'm sure because who doesn't want to play in the NFL and make that kind of money if you love football? But Coach Peterson down there won the Super Bowl in Philadelphia with a guy named Nick Foles, and Nick Foles is not even on a roster, correct?
Yep.
So why wouldn't Peterson go to him and have him as a backup? I'm just saying this in general. I'm not just saying
Yeah.
this week. How was
Yeah.
a Joe Flacco available after seeing what we saw? How is a Nick Foles even available now, knowing what he's capable of doing? And yes, he struggled with his the last time. I forget what team he was with, but I know he didn't play well. Was it the Colts?
I think so.
I think that's who he was with. And long story short, it's like some of these guys,
That
like a
was my
Joe
point.
Flacco, what we talked about before, it's like, do these guys just not want to be the clipboard holder during the season? Do they want to just be able, they're far enough in their career where they don't have to show up to all the training camp and all that just to be a number 2, and then they can just sit back, wait for an injury? Maybe that's their play. Maybe that's what they do. And if that works for them, great. Because right now, even though we didn't get the W, the Joe Flacco thing has definitely worked out. And I just keep asking myself why this organization, when we spent all the money on a Case Keenum, and then we spent the money on knowing that Jacoby Brissett was going to play a lot last year, why did we hang on to the Rook? Why did we hang on to DTR? Did he outplay Kellen Mond? Did he outplay Dobbs? He looked sharp, right? I think the
Yeah.
upside is what they looked at. But
Yeah.
man, do you look horrible with caught with your pants down when Deshaun's out? And I just don't get that. How an NFL team could that be that underprepared for a situation like that?
Well, it's one of those things I feel like if there's, and this is something we've discussed before, like if there's a deficiency in the Browns roster, it gets found through injury, it seems like, or it gets found by the other team. As we kind of talked about before, they didn't do a whole lot with the defensive line last year. It was just Miles and a bunch of also Rans and
Bodies.
and Clowney, who at that point had kind of given up on.
He checked out late in the season. So.
Yeah, so they addressed it this year, did well by bringing in all the guys they did. But this year, it's the backup quarterback and also the linebackers again, because it seems like, once somebody gets past our front 4, it's kind of open season back there. There's no thumper back there to take care of a running back who gets past the front 4. And the same thing with the quarterback. Like the chances of Deshaun Watson going down, we have no idea what they were, but I've been saying this for a couple years now. I feel like the Browns shore up an area, but they don't have a contingency plan for, all right, well, this area we didn't shore up. What are we going to do if this guy goes down? Now, I've asked from the beginning, what criteria was used to say that DTR was the backup quarterback, because I'm not basing anything off of preseason. I'll keep saying it. I will say it till I'm blue in the face. Brady Quinn looked great in the preseason.
Oh
Looked
yeah.
awesome in the preseason.
And running back Ben Gay looked awesome in training
Yeah.
camp.
Yes, exactly. So, I'm still not sure who made that decision, but clearly, if Flacco was sitting out there, he would have been just as served, just as good coming in here and playing and knowing the offense and learning everything. Now, granted, he's a different style of quarterback than what we had in our quarterback room, because all the guys were fairly mobile. You can get around. And that was one of my biggest concerns. I've talked about it for 2 weeks. He didn't really get beat up at all. So that was a plus. I'll take that. But you're right. Like, it's sometimes I feel like the Browns, for as smart as their front office is, like, have a contingency plan for everything is just not in their thoughts.
Well, I think, like we talked about with the concerns you just mentioned about Flacco. To me, that's on Stefanski for protections and some of the play action passes. How smooth did those play action passes look?
They ran play action
Just
on
even
every
the
damn
fake,
play. It
yeah,
was
just even the
crazy.
fake looked good. It just
Hmm.
looked clean. It's like, where would we be if we would have had that right off the bat? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what? I didn't even think about this. Was Joe Flacco even in anybody's training camp? I don't think
That's a
he
good
was.
question. I don't think so, but I'm not 100
'Cause we would
percent
have
sure.
cut
But
him.
you're probably right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even think he was just hanging out with his kids or something, right? But that's, that's something I wanna look into more. I wanna understand that better, but my thing is I bet him money. It's like, I got the money. I'm just gonna pick my spot, right opportunity, and it's here for him. And, unfortunately, thankfully, we've been able to talk about Joe a lot and what he did to spread the wealth around to our different receivers. But we got to talk about our defense on the road, Clarence, because I don't know what. You might as well just put fans in those jerseys, those personalized the Garrett jerseys, and stick them back there because we are just struggling big time. Yes, Denzel Ward was out. We know McLeod's out for the year. Myles Garrett was basically only playing third down at about half of what Myles Garrett is, which is still better than some. But that defense, I looked it up. We're now up to average or giving up an average of over 30 points a game on defense on the road. Like, that's a completely different thing that we see in Cleveland Brown Stadium, and it's just hard to imagine that we're so different.
It's crazy. And like you said, part of that is due to the injuries to Miles and the injury to Miles, Ward being out, McLeod being out. But there's just, it almost reminds me of last year in the NBA. Golden State Warriors at home, nearly unbeatable. On the road, anybody can wax them. Anybody. So it reminds me of the Warriors last year, the Browns this year, this defense, and how it is a completely different unit. Uh, I also think sometimes, by looking back at it and looking over their schedule, it seems like also when they face, I don't want to say like, I should say a more experienced QB. It seems like they are able to maybe figure out some things that other teams can't. But yes, this defense on the road, you said it. I don't know what happens when they leave Cleveland Brown Stadium, but it doesn't seem to be the same defense throughout the game, like the consistency throughout the game. You'll get plays, but it's not the same ferocious defense that we see
Yeah.
on Sundays when we're playing at home. So has Cleveland Brown Stadium finally become an asset for us, or what's going on?
Well, we didn't get any turnovers in LA. It was back-to-back weeks of facing a Super Bowl winning coach with a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And those guys managed the game well against us. But I think we answered your own question for earlier is why is Stefanski throwing so much? If he knows right now, he'd be looking over at Schwartz like, dude, you guys got to stop somebody. You got to stop somebody. We're not in Cleveland right now, so I'm going to have to throw the ball. And then when he looks out there and sees what Joe's doing, those throws, he's
Yeah.
probably just, he was salivating. Maybe he has run plays on one side of his sheet and pass on the other. I bet he didn't even flip the damn sheet to the run plays very often, which we saw, looking at the stats, he, throwing the ball 44 times. But for him, that justifies him passing the ball. So this week was a little different for me. I thought we had a good chance to win. I didn't like how we were going into that Denver game, coming off the high of the two big division wins at home. This one I thought we should have got. Somehow we should have found a way. And we were right there, second half, once again, score a touchdown, ready to tie the score. But for whatever reason, Denver, we were going to tie it up on 2-point conversion. Amari dropped the ball. Here we go again. We go to kick the extra point. Missed the extra point, down 1. And I don't know if that deflated us. What do you think?
A little bit. The play that I really look at is after they went down and scored, and it was 27-19. I believe there was a little under 3 minutes left. We were on our side of the field, 30 on our 30. I believe, like I said, there's a little under 3 minutes left, maybe 2.5 minutes. And this is the play I kind of wanted to ask you about. It's still a one possession game. Why didn't we punt? Because we went for it on 4th down, and because we didn't get it, they were set up in field goal position off the rip. So basically the game was over at that point. They went down and scored a touchdown afterwards. So, I mean, it really didn't matter. But in a one possession game, I didn't understand why they decided to go for it on 4th and 5. And that 4th and 5 was actually a 3rd and 1, I believe, or a 2nd and 1. And there was a penalty for, I think that was the one where,
illegal formation or a false start, I forget.
Or I think that wasn't that the one where they moved the ball.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they moved the ball. Which is weird. And they got a 5-yard penalty. But on that 4th and 5, I thought, why not punt it? Play field position, put them on the other side of the field instead of, like I said, if you don't get the 4th down conversion, then they're on your 30. And the game is essentially over because all they got to do is kick a field goal. It's a 2-possession game, under 2 minutes to go, or at 2 minutes, whatever it may be. That was the biggest play call issue that I had with Stefanski. Again, the 44 passes, kind of like we said, it was working. I did want to see more runs, but it seemed to be working. But I guess what's your thoughts on that last call? Because I thought kicking the ball, and they had 3 timeouts. And they have the 2-minute warning. So,
well, I guess you can look at it like this: is when you look at, I'm looking at Stafford's stats, 22 for 37 for 279 with 3 touchdowns, a QBR of 117.65. That's who he was going to be giving the ball back to. I get it, but I'm with you. I guess it's old school, kind of conservative, Jim Tressel type. Let's punt the ball and play defense. I get it. But I can't put my finger on Stefanski sometimes. I want to give him a whole bunch of credit for keeping this team together through everything that they went through injury-wise and the new personnel that he's had to mix in and try to, call a balanced playbook, losing so many key players, but the 4th down calls, I've always kind of questioned over his career. The play calling comes into play sometimes. I think he's got the locker room and all that, but that a drive like that, and the way we were kind of getting torched a little bit, I guess I get it, but and then it doesn't help when you don't have the confidence of your receivers catching the football, even though so many were involved, which was awesome to see. You also want to see at least somebody kind of break through. And I'm still waiting for Njoku to just be elite. And I
Yeah.
don't know if he's ever going to get there. He's got the physique, he's got the talent, but can he catch the football consistently, which I didn't want to go back to. I thought we were past that in his career. Because that's your tight end. That's supposed to be the running game, and the tight end are supposed to be the quarterback's best friend.
Yes.
And we need to rely on those. And then look what happened. Harrison Bryant has stepped up. So I don't know, Clarence. I don't think I gave you a really good answer on that, but other than, like I said, I'm kind of old school with you on that. Got to
Just
try
give
to,
yourself a chance.
yeah.
Give yourself a chance. Again, if you do not get this fourth down, they have the ball in field goal range to make it a two-possession game. So with, like I said, right around 2.5 minutes left. So to me, if you've got all three timeouts and the 2-minute warning, so you've got 4 clock stoppages. Punt the ball, see what your defense can do, and if nothing else, use your timeouts to stop them from running out the clock, and then make them punt it back to you with some time on the clock, as opposed to basically giving them the ball on your side of the field already ready just to kick a field goal, even though their field goal kicker is poor. But again, if you don't get that fourth down, the game was essentially over, which it was, and then they really killed us by going down there and scoring a touchdown anyway to seal it. So,
And by the way, a little different subject, but their wide receiver, the rookie, is it
yeah,
Nakua?
yeah,
Did he
Puka,
die the second half on that injury? Like they carried when he went off the field holding that arm, I thought it was easily a no-brainer he was done. I'm sorry, that was a second quarter, right?
yeah, yeah.
Then he came back. When I looked away from the game. I forget what I was doing down here. Try to do some multitasking on the weekend because we got things to do as a family. And I remember coming back in. I see him with the ball. I'm like, how the hell is he even out there?
Torture.
And then he like celebrated afterwards, like he went to see Mr. Miyagi in the back, and he fixed him up, real quick. It's like, how the hell's this guy in the field?
Yeah, with him walking out, he was walking all like this. He's got his arm. I was like, oh, it's a wrap. At least he's out the game. I ain't got to worry about
Yeah,
him. Wrong. Wrong. He came back in the second half and just kept eating our asses up.
man, I get it. Those drugs are a good thing, I guess. Those painkillers.
But and that brings me to kind of another point. Like, so this kid, I know about him just from fantasy, but like this kid, let's see, he's fast as hell. I absolutely see that because the kid seems like he's just a speedster out there. He's a 5th-round pick. Where's our Puka? Where's our super speedy wide receiver that we found late in the draft that has become a star? Because we've been picking these dudes left and right, and nobody's panning out as far as these draft picks. So it's kind of strange to see this guy come out and become an absolute star. Meanwhile, we're hoping that Goodwin can play. We're hoping that that Elijah Moore. We're trying to use Elijah Moore like Tyreek Hill, even though he's not Tyreek Hill and ain't got his speed.
He's not
All
even
these
Grant
guys,
Hill.
yeah, right. We're happy when David Bell or what's the other kid? The I don't know why his name
Tillman.
escapes me. Yeah,
Cedric
Tillman.
Tillman.
We're happy when these guys make a catch. Meanwhile, Puka's out here tuning us up. 2 rushes for 34 yards, 4 catches for a $105.
But
Where's
he's
our Puka?
but he's did exactly what I talked about earlier in the year, Clarence. He's the guy that separated himself.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's still like 6 catches, but
Mm-hmm.
they were quiet catches for 39 yards. I mean, yeah, one of them was a touchdown. That was a nice play, by the way.
Yeah, very nice.
Coming off the motion, that was a hell of a play. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not going to happen now. We've talked about it all year. It's too late in the damn season to see one of these guys separate themselves. maybe Tillman looks like he's got the most potential. But we'll have to just wait and see. But now that Flacco, hopefully Flacco can get that chemistry the way he did with Elijah Moore and make it look a lot better statistically, like maybe a couple touchdown passes. Because once again, we didn't have what? We didn't. Let's see. Did we have any to a wide receiver on Sunday? Because no, we had Ford and we
Ford
had
and
Pearson
Bryant.
Bryant.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
So
he's got to figure out something soon because Amari is in concussion protocol. So is he going to play Sunday? And this was
probably
my
not.
biggest fear last year. Yeah, and this was my biggest fear last year. Was that what if Amari goes down? Like we had at that point we had DPJ, my guy Schwartz, and a few other guys
I didn't say nothing. I didn't.
that won't a few other guys, but now like we've actually like there's a good chance he's not going to play. So it's going to be time for Moore, Tillman, possibly Goodwin. He, excuse me, he's questionable as of today, but like there's got to be somebody's going to have to step up, similar to what Elijah did last week behind him. Or sorry, so what Elijah did this week. Somebody's going to have to step up behind him and try and get something out of this offense. Like
I don't know.
just,
But when you have Amari, that like I've said, he's more like a really good number two who's playing in that number one spot. Now that he's not in the one spot, and you got a bunch of threes back there.
Yep.
Now they got to make that leap into the one spot. I just don't know what kind of consistency we're going to get out of these guys. I want somebody to get like 8 catches. I don't care if it's Moore or Tillman.
Yeah.
Somebody have a hell of a game Sunday, please.
Well, speaking of Sunday, next up for our 7-5 Browns, we have Jacksonville Jaguars, who shout out to Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. Y'all won me over $500 last night on a free ESPN bet. So shout out to y'all. Thank you very much. But Jacksonville coming to town. Christian Kirk is most definitely out. Doug Peterson came out and said that he's going to miss some time, I think was the exact quote, for a core muscle injury. The bigger thing, though, might be Trevor Lawrence. As you said before, C.J. Beathard is likely to be their starter. He came out and played yesterday. As of right now, Lawrence is questionable with a high ankle sprain. I'm not going to lie. I don't ever want to see anybody hurt, but if Trevor Lawrence needs a week to rest, I think he should take it for our sake.
Oh, yes. Definitely is a personal day Sunday. Don't even come to Ohio. Stay down in Florida where it's warm. Saw some snow flurries today. You don't want any part of that. Just stay home, Trevor.
Yeah.
But it's about time we face another, backup quarterback. And CJ hung in there the little bit that he got to play.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, thankfully they lost, but you got to watch out. Now we're looking at the schedule: Jacksonville at home, Chicago at home. Then we go on the road to Houston, who keeps just winning and has a chance to win that division now. And then we have the Jets on December 28th at home for our final home game. But then we're at the Bengals, who played Jacksonville. And what happened? They won.
Yeah.
So any given Sunday, we have to be prepared. And, as we look at the last 5 games of the year, Clarence, we got to find 5 wins there. 3 of them are at home. Are we going to win all of them and then not concern ourselves with being at Houston and at Cincinnati?
Honestly, if we have 7 wins right now, we need to get a bare minimum of 3 more, I think, to make the playoffs.
Yeah, because we're sitting at the 7th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we would play the 2 seed at Baltimore if playoffs started today. So
if Lawrence doesn't play this week, I think we can get Jacksonville. I really do. If Cincinnati's backup quarterback can come in and torch them. I think the way that Joe Flacco played, while we don't have the weapons that they have, um, I think Joe Flacco is better than Browning. So I think we can get them if Lawrence doesn't play. If he plays, it's a crapshoot. So let's just say for shits and giggles he plays. I don't think that they'll be able to beat Jacksonville, but I think they can get Chicago, and I think they can get, and I bet they beat New York. Houston, I mean, they're playing really well right now. So I don't see you, and I think this is. It's not that I don't see it. It's that this is the part of the season that we're in. No Watson, no Chubb, chance for no Amari, both tackles out, Miles hurt, Ward hurt, McLeod out. So week to week, we really don't know what kind of team we're going to field out there because we don't know what these guys have in them. You kind of understand what I'm saying?
What
Like it's
we know is what we've been doing all year at home is leaning on that defense.
yeah.
And that's my biggest concern for Sunday is which defense shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Is Miles healthy? Does Denzel play? We know Miles ain't going to be like 100% healthy because who the hell is 100% healthy this far in the season?
Yeah.
Maybe no. I mean, Joe was because he was just on his couch a few weeks ago. But point being is what defense is going to show up? Can Joe get a solid rhythm with one of our wide receivers and avoid the Saxonville type defense that they got over there? So Joe getting rid of the ball quick like he did on Sunday, but he's going to be playing a little better defense. So it's going to be interesting. And as bad as the Bears suck and the Jets suck, looking at the schedule, it still falls in that any given Sunday. Our
Mm-hmm.
last game of the year at Cincinnati, guys are still playing for pride. There's no layups left. There's some should wins that we look at, but there's still no layups based on what we're dealing with on our roster.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We just don't know. So if Flacco was to come out this week against Jacksonville and lay an egg, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because again, he's got one game under his belt this season. So just not knowing what team we're going to see each week is it's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. Like it's it's a little scary because again, we can walk out there and stomp a mud hole in Jacksonville without Lawrence, or even with Lawrence, or we could walk out there and we could see a performance kind of like this week where we hang around, we hang around, we hang around, and lose in the end. So uh, it's going to be an interesting ride here. It's very weird because we're in this playoff hunt without all of our stars. I would say um, all the guys that we expected to take us to a playoff berth are not playing. So it's going to be an interesting last basically 5 weeks, 6 weeks of the season.
And
5 weeks.
Jacksonville, if they would have won last night, so they were a point away because it went to overtime, a point away during the first four quarters of actually having the number one seed in the AFC.
Yeah,
So this team is no slouch.
yeah,
The same way when we lost our quarterback and how we rallied around whoever was starting, I expect that team to do the same thing Sunday. So I think it's going to be another game where we're just trying to get into the low 20s and play some defense to win the game. Because any expectation above the low 20s is for scoring for us right now, I don't think is realistic.
I agree. I 100% agree. Buckle up, Browns fans. We could be going on a magical ride, or we could be going down the shitter. Either way, it's gonna be interesting to watch.
It will be, I'm hoping and exciting. We need to keep the joy that we had earlier in the year. It should be an exciting last 5 games. There's none of these games here where we shouldn't be in it, and be able to play it to the end. And at least if we're behind, it's a close game. So kind of cardiac kids version 2023. Be ready for some close games. Be ready some people looking on Twitter where first quarter you're happy, and in the second quarter, like, what the hell's going on? Third quarter, hey, we're back in it. So it's a roller coaster, guys. So yeah, exactly what Clarence said. Buckle up. It's going to be a man. I just hope we make the playoffs, because I don't know, Clarence. I was hoping to get win the division this year. Baltimore's going to have to come out of this bye and stumble a little bit to give us a chance. But right now, I think realistically, it's playoffs. Get in there and win a game.
Which I agree. Which just the fact that if they were able to get in the playoffs right now and win a game, it would be a successful season. Just due to the fact that our our battery is our backfield right now consists of 87-year-old Joe Flacco, 45-year-old Kareem Hunt, even though that guy hasn't left his 30s. I don't think he's hit his 30s yet, but a life of a running back in the NFL, you age pretty quickly. Second-year guy, and then my man Pierre Strong, who ain't getting the tick that he deserves. That's not who I thought would be in our backfield if we were going to make a playoff run, but here we are.
Got to make do with what you got. Like I said, let's get to the playoffs, and let's see what we can do.
Agreed. Is there anything else you want to tell these people before we get out of here?
Just continue to follow Believeland Media. I know we added a team member named Alan today to the high school coverage. I did a little partnership with him with another media company for a short time, so he's a great addition to the team. So welcome, Alan, and continue to follow all the high school coverage, even though high school football is over. Basketball is starting to get into full swing now. So there's a lot of different Believeland Media members out there covering high school games in Northeast Ohio. So follow us at Believeland Media on Twitter, on X, also on Facebook. Kevin works his tail off, doing a lot of posts, taking our podcast, putting them together, getting them on YouTube. So follow us on YouTube. A lot of good things, and we're really having a good time here, being a part of a great Browns season. No matter how it ends, I think we're all better for it. It's been a great fall leading into winter, and hopefully everybody's out there getting your Christmas gifts and getting that taken care of, so you can start relaxing here a little bit going into the holidays, and hopefully just taking in some Browns victories.
Well said. And as usual for me, I will say always make sure you follow everybody at Believeland Media. But more than anything else, be nice to one another. It's a holiday season. People's anxieties are high. You don't know what somebody else could be going through in their life. So just be kind, man. Be kind.
Yeah. Go have fun. Go downtown. Go down to the square. Go rent some skates, do some ice skating. Go down to the theaters, check out some Christmas plays. Go to visit the Christmas Story house, and get out there and enjoy all the things that are great about living in Northeast Ohio.
That's right. Well, it is that time, folks. You guys know the routine. Y'all know the routine. Like I said, the greatest 8-game coordinator in the history of NFL. The words, the immortal, Freddie Kitchens. You know, wear this brown and this orange right here, you don't matter. Peace, y'all.
Take care, Browns fans.